Welcome to Business Over a Brew, the show where we talk business with some of the Riverbend's most interesting and influential business leaders, all while enjoying a nice brew. I'm your host, Nick Darr. In this episode, we'll talk to Jared and Carolyn Brynildson, the owners of Germania Brew House on Broadway in Alton. We had a chance to sit down with them in their new coffee/brew house and talk about the concept behind Germania and how they juggle owning a business in Alton while both are stationed in Hawaii. So let's get to it. It's the Business Over a Brew podcast, this time on location at Germania Brew House. Welcome to Business Over a Brew, a special edition of Business Over a Brew. We're at Germania Brew House today with the owners and proprietors, Carolyn and Jared. Pronounce the last name for me?
Brynildson.
Brynildson. So welcome to Business Over a Brew. Thanks for joining us. Tell us a little bit about, you guys have a really interesting history. You're from the area, but you're both military, so you travel around quite a bit.
Yep, so we actually moved over here right after the big flood in 93. My parents did in 94. We came over right as that bridge was being built right out there, obviously Lewis and Clark Bridge. And then kind of shuffled around here. We moved to Godfrey in about 2003. I left for the military at that time. Carolyn was in Troy growing up. We didn't know each other at the time. Our families, while we were both gone, became friends, and then we actually met in Afghanistan, believe it or not. Became good friends, and then started to date, and then we eventually got married. And then we started having more, come here for the holidays more and more, and start seeing. For a little while, they were all kind of going downhill, and then all of a sudden to come back with Old Bakery and Elijah Peas and all the different businesses, this programming, just new mentalities coming in Alton. But I think we were able to save up a decent amount of money and wanted to do something with it. And what's better than investing in your hometown? It's helping it come back, or at least trying to help it come back. So. Sure. That's what we wanted to do, and we came here looking for a place. We found Germania, the old bank, which was this pretty much turnkey as it is now. She did a really good job. The two previous owners both did renovations and got it to where it is, and then we obviously added the business.
Yeah. So we really just needed someone to run it for us, because we'd always talked about having a business when we get out of the military. And the timing just didn't work out where we could get out and run it ourselves. So luckily, Ben, Jared's youngest of 4 younger brothers, runs it on the day-to-day for us while we kind of monitor from afar.
Sure. You guys are both stationed in Hawaii, and Jared, you're in the Army, and Carolyn in the Air Force. And by the way, it's Carolyn's birthday today. So
it is.
And a couple reasons to have her today. So tell us about where the concept for, it's such a cool concept. First of all, just tell us about the concept, because it's different than most your typical brew house.
Absolutely. You want to take on me?
Sure. We live in Kailua, Hawaii, and there's a place called Grayson Growlers, and they have the same self-pour tap wall that we have. And when we were thinking about starting a business and Alton came to mind, we were like, they don't have anything like that. That would be new and unique. So that's what we kind of started with. And then when we found this building, it seemed like a sin not to make it a coffee house as well, to let everyone enjoy the ambiance, and it's very relaxing and inviting. So that's when the coffee piece came in. We're avid coffee drinkers, but never really roasted it or made it ourselves. So we enlisted the help of Crimson Cup, who helps stand up independent coffee shops and makes sure that they get on their feet, are efficient and successful.
Mm-hmm. Coffee and beer, what is not to like about that concept? I mean, that sells. So talk about the bracelet concept and how that works at Germania Brew House.
Yeah, so it is definitely a new concept, but allows you to, and I'll get into the technicalities of it, but it allows you to, instead of buying a beer you don't know if you're going to like, you can buy just a little bit of a lot of different things. And if you like it, go buy a lot more if you want. But the bracelet concept is you come in, you give us your ID card. There's a barcode in all ID cards now. And the computer scans it, tells us your name, your date of birth, and your age. It'll automatically do the computation there for you, so you don't have to do the math. But it'll tell us if it's valid ID, and then you give us your debit card, and the debit card will tie to the bracelet. The bracelet is just an RFID. You put it up to the label, the Germania Brew House label, and all the frames. And it will charge you by every 1/10 of an ounce. So you can have this. You could literally just have a 1/10 of an ounce. And that is it. However, it is labeled on the machines for every ounce. So a lot of beers are around the 30 to 40 cent range, which equals about $3 and $3.50 to $4, which is the average price of most beers you'll find. But you can pay. We've seen people come here and just drink $2 worth of beer, but they've tried a lot of different beers, and they've just talked to their friends and hung out, and that's it.
The craft beer industry has really just blown up so much, and I think that's a great concept, because
instead of having to order a full beer that maybe
Yeah.
you end up not liking, you can just try it out. I guess
That's
that's
right.
where the concept came from, obviously.
Yeah, and then in Bud Central right here, we're all in
Right,
the,
yeah.
you know, the cloud and the shadow of Bud Central. So a lot of people have not experimented with craft beer, even though there has been a lot of breweries popping up, such as Old Bakery right down the road. So it's good for them to at least get their feet wet just by trying a little bit at a time.
And we do always try to have like one or two lagers and pilsners that maybe those Bud drinkers would be more amenable to liking the lighter beers. So
Sure.
try to get them in that way.
Sure, absolutely. How do you decide what brews come into the brew house?
So we focus on local. We want to have a little bit of as many as we can, but keeping to the kind of the genres, a little bit of each genre, saisons as well as porters and stouts, as well as obviously the IPAs and the blondes and the Hefeweizens. But so that's we want to have a couple of each, and then we want to kind of represent as many breweries as we can. But then we take okay, this brewery has the best stout currently. Let's go with that. And then as the seasons change, they continue to change their brews, and we do the same thing over and over again. So it's really about exposure for all the local craft breweries that are around here, which is quite a bit now. They're actually populating. I think there's a Maxim or a GM article or GQ article about the craft beer awakening in the
St. Louis area.
Yep, exactly.
And what a cool location. I mean, it's just tell us a little bit about whatever you know about the history of the building and things like that.
So we're still trying to figure out a lot of that. We know in 1929 it was created as Germania Bank. 1993 Germania Bank went out of business. There's at least 3 Germania banks in Alton at one point in time. This is the only one with the logo out front, which is kind of the reason why we kept the name as well.
Yeah.
And I'll let her go into a little bit of the backstory of Germania, but after that it was a pub of some sort. We only know that because there's a leftover logo on the bottom that said pub, and then we know it was a house, kind of 2 houses. The last house was a small purse shop as well, because it's technically zone C4 as well, so which is commercial. But so we took it from there and kind of created this business. But we knew Germania
Was the right building for us because when we met, like you said, in Afghanistan, I was stationed in Germany, speak a little bit of German. It's rough right now, don't test me. And then
I can count to 10. There you go.
yeah, I can do that. And then when we were in Nashville, stationed at Fort Campbell, we lived in Germantown. And then when we saw the name of the building and the inside, we knew that this was like the perfect match for kind of where we were coming from, and it just felt like it was the right thing to do.
I actually drove by the building with somebody, my wife, and she said, "Oh, how did they get their name engraved up on the building?" That's been there for a long time. So
we don't try to fight much. We just kind of go with the flow. It's got a character already. So
you mentioned you guys met in Afghanistan and your families had become friends. Was that just pure coincidence, or did they introduce you to?
Funny story. Our younger siblings dated, and they were both like, "Hey, you guys are so similar to each other. You need to meet." And we're like, "She's in the Air Force. She's not actually going to be doing much in Afghanistan. And I will never see her."
I knew there'd be a shot.
That's right. That's right. Shot over the bow on that one. But she actually ended up being in the small little area that I was in Afghanistan.
It was one of about 10 Air Force on this little army post.
Yeah.
And our moms had run into each other because they knew each other.
And worked with each other.
And worked with each other a bit.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Oh, Jared's in Afghanistan. Maybe you'll run into him." And we're like, "Okay, Mom." Right. And I saw him.
And right now, if you stop by Germania Brew House, there's a little tip jar contest going on.
That's right. And the Army continues to win. So you can put your money in Army or Air Force. We don't take any of it. It's all for the baristas. But it's just good to know that the Army is, better represented.
He's taking the money out.
Some cheating going on.
Yeah, maybe.
All right.
Not really, but you can think that.
From a coffee standpoint, because that seems like the focus of it, I think, was beer when you guys started, but the coffee was kind of added. Talk about that concept and what led to that decision.
So, kind of what you mentioned earlier, we came here looking for a decent place to put a tap room. With that, with some caution, because we have plenty of bars around here. We wanted something different that was just going to be a family concept. You just sit around, drink beer, good beer, and play board games or talk or whatever in a quieter atmosphere. But then when we found Germania, they did such a good job designing it. It was like, we have to put a coffee shop here.
Right.
As soon as I thought about that, I'm like, where are the coffee shops here? I've grown up here. I don't know where they're at. It's like, no, there's one. Maybe it's on the other side of the city. Another good coffee shop. But there's nothing over here at all. And we love coffee shops. Nashville, where we spent a lot of time, has amazing coffee shops. But there's nothing here. And it's kind of turning into a big thing is now beer and coffee. Yeah, sometimes a little bit of overlap, but a lot of coffee during the day, beer at night, catch up with AM and PM.
Perfect. You guys are both in the military now and
Mhm.
stationed in Hawaii. What are your plans for the next 5 to 10 years for Germania?
Ask me today, ask me
For
tomorrow.
Germania?
Yeah.
Right.
We would love to see it more involved in the community events, giving to some local non-for-profits. We have a big passion for like mentorship of young people. So we've got our eye on a few organizations that when we're financially ready to start contributing that we would like to tap into. But that's what I think the lifeblood of a coffee shop or tap room should be, is, you know, one, customer service, being a place where community can gather, and then two, getting out there and influencing the community. So
Great. Well, we'll wrap it up here with just giving a quick plug about when people can visit.
yeah, so we open at 6 a.m. On weekdays and 8 a.m. on weekends, and then we close at varying times, but on Fridays and Saturdays beer goes until 11 p.m. And we're having a Fright Fest event the weekend preceding Halloween, which is going to be awesome. So
Awesome.
Yeah.
check out Facebook
Cool.
for that.
Absolutely.
Well, Carolyn and Jared, thanks so much for joining
Thank you
us
for
on
having
Business
us.
Over Brew. Carolyn, happy birthday. Thank you.
you.